Well, the MEP, Edward McMillan-Scott, knows Liu Xiaobo and has campaigned for him. How do you know him?
Well, in fact, I don't. I'm sorry if you've been misinformed, but I am very well aware of his campaign. He was arrested actually before he published Charter 08. But I'm in contact with others who are close to him and indeed with a number of other dissidents in China. And it is because my last visit to China in 2006, all the Chinese with whom I had contact were then arrested and imprisoned and in some cases tortured, that I'm rather careful about what I now do. But I think it's very important that the Nobel Peace Prize Committee has, as it were, broken with the rather sedentary awards of recent years to Barack Obama last year, Al Gore, to Jimmy Carter in 2002, and have gone back to the process by which they single out an individual who has world effect, be it Nelson Mandela, Aung San Suu Kyi, the Dalai Lama, Lech Walesa, Mother Teresa, and so on. And in this context, Liu Xiaobo is an extremely important person because he represents the voice of reform and democracy in China, 1.3 billion people, but still, although one of the world's most powerful economies, a terror state. And that's why it's so important. And people will pick up in China. I'm told that in China the search engines they go blank when you put in his name, but people will know about it, because that's the way things are in China today. Reform will come.
You're calling China a terror state. What does it tell us about the foreign policy of Britain and other countries in Europe, I guess, that it takes the Nobel Committee to do this?
Well, since we're talking about websites, I checked on the Foreign Office website this afternoon. You put his name in Liu Xiaobo and nothing comes up. And that's a pity, because actually Britain has a good record in human rights and democracy. But when Mr. Haig, the Foreign Secretary, wrote a piece in the Daily Telegraph a month or so ago saying human rights should be at the heart of our foreign policy, they're not yet. This is such an important...
How do you do that, I wonder?
Well, you have to take up issues, and individuals matter. And, human rights is a generalized sort of approach. But actually, when it comes down to it, Liu Xiaobo is one of thousands of people who are imprisoned at the moment in China, and many of them were rounded up before the Olympic Games to keep them quiet. But there are between 7 and 8 million people in labor camps across China going through re-education through labor. Thousands of them die each year through torture. That is the reality of a country which is still as repressive as it has been for generations. And that's why it's so important that the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, who backed off in 2008, awarding it to Gao Shisheng, who is a contact of mine as well, a Christian human rights lawyer, and the committee had been to China on trips and so on, and I think they learned their lesson. The worldwide outcry against their failure then to nominate a Chinese dissident has been corrected today, and that is enormously to be welcomed.
Thank you for joining us, the MEP Edward McMillan-Scott.